Ave Maria, this is Fra Roderic here for AirMaria.com, and we're in Lake Forest, Illinois, near Chicago, for the Sports Faith International Induction Ceremony. And we're here with Joseph Scheidler, who is very well known and respected for his work in fighting the RICO laws against the pro-life movement. How you doing, Joe?
Well, I'm glad you said respected by some. I'm not always respected by the abortionists, but we've got a real fight on our hands, and we have had for 35 years now. But in 1986, we were charged with racketeering of all things. They started out with antitrust, and that didn't get anywhere, so they added racketeering.
Wow. Now, that's pretty radical, if you ask me. I've been to some pro-life protests, and they didn't seem to be gangsters or racketeering or anything like that.
Well, maybe I look like a gangster. I don't know, but that was the charge. Racketeering influenced corrupt organizations law, usually reserved for the big kingpins and the drug dealers, but they said that I was costing them money. Right. And, of course, I wasn't making any money. I hope I was costing them money because we were trying to talk women out of abortion, get doctors to quit doing abortions, and it bothered them so much that they filed a class action suit bringing in all the abortion clinics in the country against us looking for damages. And in RICO, whatever damages you get are automatically tripled. And so it was a tough case. It took 21 years. It's a record case.
Right, and it wasn't just one time that he fought. He had to do an unprecedented 3 times, bring it to the Supreme Court, right?
Yes, we would get a decision. For instance, this decision originally was 8-1 in our favor. We were not racketeers. We didn't meet the qualifications for racketeering. And so we came back through the lower courts. We got into the 7th Circuit here in Chicago, and it was held up and decided that the case should be retried. Well, we didn't want to have it retried. We lost in the trial court here in Chicago. So we went back for certiorari to go to the Supreme Court again, and we got a 3rd hearing from the Supreme Court. This time it was unanimous that we were not racketeers, and that one came down, but it took a long time because they would keep finding little spitzfindigkeit, little things. The numbers didn't add up. There were 4 extra charges that hadn't been alluded to, and we didn't know what they were, and they didn't know what they were. So it was a mess. But through it all, people supported us very, very well. And I think we really gained by this inconvenience, you'd call it.
It was tough, but well worth it, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You ended up exposing a lot of what you needed to get out in the media, and you took the wind out of sails, basically.
Well, I'll tell you the one thing, too. The media are very concerned about the First Amendment, and this became, almost through their efforts and the court's efforts, a First Amendment case. Well, can't we go out on the streets? Can't we show pictures? Can't we pass out flyers? Can't we try to talk somebody out of abortion? And I would say that almost every newspaper in the country, except probably the New York Times, supported us. Most of the editorials were, these guys are not racketeers. We may not like them. We may not like their methods. We may disagree with their philosophy and their beliefs, but they have a right to say it. They have a right to do it. So we did get a lot of support from a hostile media and from the courts. When we got in the Supreme Court, it was actually the judges who began to arguing for our right to free speech. We were not allowed to address the First Amendment. It was X'd out. And yet the court itself introduced the First Amendment, and we knew from then on it was a nice, easy trail to victory.
What specifically were you doing that was causing them so much trouble?
We were doing a lot of things. I wrote a book on 99 ways to stop abortion, and some people were doing all those 99 ways. We were marching, we were passing out literature, we were showing pictures, we were converting doctors. We were doing things that work. We got on an awful lot of radio talk shows, and we marched in the streets. So we were doing the things that have to be done in changing any social position. You have to be public. You have to be determined. You have to be effective. You have to be seen. And since the media wouldn't come to us, we went to them. I've picketed many newspapers and television studios because they won't tell our story. Right. So we get them to come and get the story, or we go to give it to them. And it's been working. We're seeing a change in the whole attitude in this country. Now, of course, that's for lots of reasons. The crisis pregnancy centers and the people that are working through the courts and through the legislatures, we're all working together. Right. And we're at a fair today that I think is going to be powerful, where you bring your sports heroes out and find out what good guys these are, that they believe in Jesus Christ. And we all have to be very open about that, because I think our main goal is to go and teach what Christ taught us. That's our goal. Whatever you're doing, fighting abortion, fighting euthanasia, whatever, you have to bring Christ's message to the people. Right. And we have to be very bold and outgoing about it, very straightforward.
Well, great, Joe. You've done a really good job, and it was a 21-year battle with that whole thing. And what was it that would have happened if you'd lost?
Well, of course, we had to put our house up for collateral. We couldn't raise the $440,000 they wanted to.
Wow.
Yeah, that was what they came down to, because in RICO you triple whatever damages are assessed you. It's automatically tripled. Wow. So we ended up with almost $500,000, and we didn't have that in petty cash. So we had to put our house up and borrow money so we could appeal.
And it was all due to the actual lawsuit against you.
That's right.
Wow.
The lawsuit, in order to go back up to the court, we had to put up the bond.
Right.
And the bond was more than we had, so we had to put our house up. So that belonged to now. It was in the bank. And then we could have lost that. We could have paid enormous other fines. They wanted to bring in all the abortion clinics in the country. It was a class action suit. But they got only 3 clinics to go together to bring this money. If you could see, if they had 1,000 abortion clinics, all coming down with hundreds of thousands of dollars of damages, it would have been, we could not possibly have met that. But we met what we had to do. We had a good lawyer, Tom Brecka, and we got some good lawyers from Washington. And I remember Tom, when I hired Tom years ago, I said, well, Tom, you're kind of like the old professor type, quiet, and I don't know, are you going to be aggressive enough? And he said, Joe, I win cases. I'll never forget that. That's all I needed.
Right. That's what you really needed.
He didn't say 21 years. It takes me 21 years, but we grew up with this case. Some of my kids don't remember when we weren't under the gun.
But whole generation, right?
It's right. But it was a good thing in a way, because we were able to get out through the media because of this case.
Sure. Lawsuits are always very, very public, aren't they?
They are. They are. People are very interested in law and what's going on in court. Courtroom drama. Right. And we had plenty of it. We had people come in and say that we beat women, we kicked them, and all kind of stuff we never did.
Right.
And so that was very public. I'm still being charged with all kind of crimes I didn't do, but I don't mind because it scares them.
So in one big felt swoop, you combated the bias of the mass media and the bias of the courts, really, because the courts never should have taken that second and third time, right?
No. They wouldn't have if we could have. And besides that, all through the 21 years, the abortionists were offering us an easy out.
Right.
They'd drop all the charges if we just signed a little paper, but we wouldn't bother them so much. And I just couldn't do that.
Right. Well, God bless you, Joe. You did a great service, and God will reward you for that, no matter what had happened in eternity. But
well, I hope we did some good.
Yeah, and
we're not finished yet.
That's great, Joe. Well, God bless you and all you do.
Thanks a million. Keep up your great work.
Thank you, Joe. Ave Maria, this is Fra Roderic here for AirMaria.com. God bless you.